Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's meeting of Full Council. Welcome also to those members of the public and press accessing the meeting via the live stream to YouTube. In order to ensure the overall sound quality both within the room and virtually, may I take this opportunity to remind member and officer colleagues to turn their mobile telephones to silent and ensure that when addressing the meeting, they speak directly into the microphones, ensuring that the red light is on. Microphones should then be switched off when they are not in use. Moving now to agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Can I ask member services to report any apologies for absence, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies received this afternoon from Councillors Branton, Connor, Gershner, Gill and Meekins. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The minutes of the Council meeting held on the 15th of December 2025 are shown on pages 5 to 10 of the agenda pack. I would like to move approval of the minutes. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Members, if you have any comments, please raise your hand. No comments have been raised, therefore the minutes are approved. Thank you. The minutes are approved with the suggested amendments. No amendments. For information, you will find at pages 11 to 12 of the agenda pack a list of civic engagements I have attended in the weeks preceding Full Council. Agenda item 4. I will be hosting an Easter afternoon tea event on Thursday the 26th of March at 2:30 p.m. in aid of my chosen charity, Damsons, which is a local dementia community support group. Tickets are available to purchase by contacting the member services team. There are no announcements from the Chief Executive today, so we will move on to the next item. Agenda item 5 is to receive any declarations of interest under the local Code of Conduct or any interest under the Code of Conduct on planning matters in respect of any items to be discussed at this meeting.
Thank you, Chairman. May I just declare for the sake of transparency that I'm a trust...
Sorry, the microphones are very conflicting, sorry.
Thank you. For the sake of transparency, Chairman, may I just declare that I am a trustee of fact.
Yes, Chairman, can I also declare a non-pecuniary interest as a trustee of fact?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Similarly, I would declare a non-pecuniary interest as trustee of fact as well.
Since this is the meeting at which members are being asked to consider and vote on various financial matters, the following reminders are relevant alongside the usual requirements for declaring interests. In relation to agenda items 12 and 13, which relate to the corporate budget and council tax resolution, under section 106 of the Local Government and Finance Act 1992, it is an offence for a councillor to vote if they have an outstanding council tax debt of over 2 months. If this applies to you, then you must disclose that 106 applies, and then when we get to that stage in the agenda, and you will need then to leave the meeting whilst the item is considered. Further, recommendation 3.2 of agenda item 12 relates to the council tax support scheme. In that regard, if a member, their spouse or civil partner, or any person they are living with as husband and wife is in receipt of local council tax support or a related exemption, then a declaration of interest must be made. Following that declaration and assuming that member remains sufficiently open-minded, they may participate in the debate and cast their vote. If you have anything to declare, please can you raise your hand and state your interest when asked. Councillor Woolard.
Just to declare that I am in receipt of council tax benefit but I will remain open to the discussion.
Thank you. Any others? Thank you. Agenda item 6. There have been no written questions submitted in accordance with Rule 8.6, and we will therefore proceed straight to questions under Rule 8.4. Councillor Booth, you may now ask questions of the leader within the allotted time limit of 20 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. So first question is just regarding the point around the new local plan. I did ask the leader, in the absence of the portfolio holder, if we could have a note regarding what the process would entail, as that hadn't been explained to us. We still haven't received that, as far as I can see. You know, are we going to get an update on what the steps are going to be in the new local plan, particularly pertinent to Fenland?
Councillor Bowden.
Thank you very much indeed, Chairman. Yes, my apologies. We will make sure between Councillor Laws and myself, we'll make sure that a note is supplied to all members of the council about what our objectives are as far as the new local plan is concerned, and also the likely timetable for that.
Thank you, because obviously I think that would be useful for town and parish councils as well. I know the consultation's just started, a number of parish and town councils are responding to that, but obviously we're against a tight timetable here. My other point is just regarding the fact that we've got an extraordinary meeting of the council called on the 13th of March, which again is on a Friday afternoon. When I previously raised concerns about meetings being held on Friday afternoon, because a number of councillors aren't able to attend, and I include myself in that because of my shift patterns, we were given a commitment that we would try to avoid meetings on Friday afternoons, but it appears every meeting we've had on local government reorganisation has taken place at 4 o'clock on a Friday. So, you know, what's the reason for it taking place this time on Friday afternoon?
Thank you very much, Councillor Booth, and I've got to give a second apology to you. But it wasn't first choice by any means for it to be Friday afternoon. It's just that the other dates that we had available just were not able to be covered by people. We have a strict deadline about the date by which a submission must be made by us or by anyone else to the government's consultation about local government reform. And that was the latest date that we could find to be able to set the meeting. Any earlier, we probably wouldn't have had enough time to be able to put the motion forward to full council and to the cabinet, and any later date just wasn't available. We did try. Apart from the fact we didn't try Saturdays and Sundays, and I would be perfectly willing and perfectly, Councillor Mrs. French loves, but I'd be perfectly willing and perfectly open to have meetings on a Saturday, Sunday, 10 p.m, whatever time. Unfortunately, I don't believe that every single member of this council has the same dedication that you and I, Councillor Booth, have to the work of this council.
Okay, thank you for that response. So again, unfortunately, I have no annual leave left. It's the end of the holiday year and I won't be able to attend that meeting. So unfortunate, given it's such an important meeting, but there you go. And we'll have questions, Chair.
Thank you. In accordance with Procedure Rule 8.1, members will find the portfolio holders briefing report at pages 13 to 38 of the agenda pack. Procedure Rule 8.2 permits questions to Cabinet members about any matter which falls within their portfolio responsibilities, and members are reminded that there is a total time allocation of 1 hour for this item. Councillor Hicks.
This being such a hot topic in March at the moment, I've decided to bring this question forward. The BBC reported the former Barclays Bank site cost Fenland £750,000 to buy. And although going against officers' recommendations, decided to pull it down at a cost of £371,000. Then decided to put it up for sale for £295,000, effectively losing £800,000 of taxpayers' money. Does Councillor Bowden, being head of the council and portfolio holder, think this makes good financial sense? We know this was never a project making the scheme a profit-making scheme, but as a council, we have to be accountable for losing such a big sum of money, of taxpayers' government money. What was the original plan to do with this site? I mean, I asked around and nobody could tell me what we was going to do with the site. If there was a plan for the original site, what was it and why wasn't it done?
Councillor Bowden.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman. And first of all, may I thank Councillor Hicks for providing me with advance notice of much of the question that he's just asked. I have mentioned to members of the Council before that if a detailed answer is required to any subject, it really is helpful to have that advance notice because it does allow me to check facts with officers to make sure that what I say, Council, is correct. If I can't check the facts, I'm very reluctant actually to give specifics. So grateful to Councillor Hicks for the advance notice that was given. Members will also be aware that it is my normal practice, maybe to have a few notes in front of me, but to speak very much off the cuff in answer to any questions which are asked. But in this case, given the complications which are involved and some of the detail which is involved, I'm actually going to read out a statement in response to what Councillor Hicks had said. Transactions relating to the former Barclays Bank site in March very successfully satisfied government criteria for spending the grant money that they allocated to March under the National Future High Street Fund initiative. They additionally, although not necessarily intentionally, will prove shortly to be significantly financially advantageous to Fenland District Council. But more important than that, they are a key part of a scheme which will significantly benefit the town of March for years to come. To understand the transactions relating to the former Barclays Bank site in March, it's necessary to look at three different stages of the process, as success was defined in different ways in each stage. The first stage is the use of government, the government authorised under its National Future High Street Fund initiative. The second is the temporary use which was made of the site after it was purchased. And the third stage is the disposal of the site and what it will be used for. And a little background will be helpful here. The Ministry of Housing, Housing Communities and Local Government, the MHCLG, announced a national £675 million regeneration programme, the objective of which was to renew and reshape town centres and high streets in ways that improve user experience, drive economic growth, and ensure long-term sustainability. And MHCLG identified a number of approved uses and outcomes for their money, including investment in physical infrastructure, acquisition and assembly of land, including to support new housing, workspaces and public realm, improvements to transport access, traffic flow and circulation, and supporting change of use, including housing delivery and so-called densification. Now, Fenland District Council applied for funding for March Town Centre from the Future High Street Fund, and we were successful in getting MHCLG funding for March in the amount of £6.49 million for public realm improvements, for land acquisitions, and for refurbishment of FDC-owned assets. March additionally received £2 million CPCA-matched funding. Cambridgeshire County Council also fully funded new roadways, a mini roundabout, and all the associated highways works, and there was investment from Cadent Gas and from Anglian Water, both of whom fully replaced their ageing underground utilities. And the purchase of the former Barclays Bank building was one of 10 interventions delivered as part of the March Future High Street Fund scheme. The purchase and demolition of the Barclays site was wholly funded by the Future High Street Fund grant. No FDC capital funding was used. The government's stated objective was to target regeneration investment at areas or sites demonstrating market failure. The Barclays site met these government criteria. Now, Fenland District Council wasn't just given £6.49 million of government money and told to get on with it. Government had to give us permission for exactly how the money was spent. And they did so on the basis of the benefit cost analysis, the benefit cost ratio for the project, BCR. And that was calculated strictly according to the Treasury Green Book principles, which are nationally established. Government approval was required for the details of the scheme in March before they permitted the grant money to be spent. Now, initially, the schemes which we put forward to government, for which we obtained their approval, included development of a site at Acre Road. However, the potential acquisition there fell through. Fenland District Council therefore sought to repurpose that part of the grant to enhance the wider regeneration strategy by, among other things, unlocking the Barclays Bank site, which is a key location site in the town centre that the private sector was unable or unwilling to bring forward. Agreement was given by the government to repurpose the funds previously allocated for Acre Road after the revised calculation of the benefit-cost ratio for the scheme as a whole was shown to be even greater than it had been when Acre Road had been included. It's worth emphasising here that government didn't authorise any of this investment to make a short-term transactional profit. The grant money is spent on improving shop fronts, converting above-shop premises into residential units, demolishing and relocating the public toilets, and enhancing the street scene and public realm were all authorised by government based on the economic and social benefit generated, not on an investment return basis. And for the government, the March scheme proved a real success, with a Treasury Green Book benefit costs ratio of 3.15, meaning that for every £1 of government grant money that was spent, £3.15 of economic and social benefit will be generated. In the financial terms used by the government, the March Future High Street Fund grant, as enhanced by substituting Barclays Bank for Acre Road, was a resounding success, as the government's BCR requirement was 2, whereas the revised March scheme's BCR was almost 60% above the government target. In total, according to the official way government evaluates grant funding, the £8.49 million of public money put into the scheme delivers almost £27 million in socio-economic benefits in March. And let me just emphasise that, £8.5 million of public money generating £27 million of socio-economic benefit. Very good ratio. Now, the change from funding Acre Road to funding the Barclays site had to be the subject of a formal project amendment request and was therefore separately considered by the government before they gave approval for the use of their grant funding for that purpose, based, as I said, on the enhanced benefit cost ratio that this achieved. Separately to that government-required evaluation of the proposed redevelopment of the Barclays Bank site, FDC officers were required by Cabinet to perform due diligence on the project amendment request in relation to the Barclays site. And as part of this, FDC officers obtained detailed written independent legal advice from a leading firm of lawyers whose work includes specialisation in public authority law. So the purchase and redevelopment of the Barclays Bank site was lawful, and it more than satisfied the government's requirement in terms of value for money. Government was not purchasing the site to generate a development profit. They were authorising the site's redevelopment to achieve a substantial, quantifiable, and quantified regeneration gain for March. Proceeding to the second stage of the process, there was a significant additional benefit obtained in that the subcontractors carrying out the physical work in and around Broad Street were able to use the Barclays Bank site as their project office and store. And this saved between £250,000 and £300,000 in operational costs for that work, and that it excludes time-related efficiencies. And the money thereby saved was invested further in public realm improvements, additional to the original plan. Completion of the scheme therefore ended up earlier and better than otherwise would have occurred, and we also used the Barclays site for consultations. The third stage of the process relating to the former Barclays Bank site is the redevelopment phase. Now, I'm limited in what I can say about this stage at the moment, since tender documents have only recently been received from bidders and are still being evaluated by officers prior to a report being submitted to next month's Cabinet for a decision to be made. It was not the intention of this phase to make any development profit, and the fact that Fenland District Council will make a significant profit is a fortunate byproduct of the whole process. But I clearly cannot mention any numbers at this point. Within the tender process, potential bidders were all informed of the time requirement, both for obtaining planning permission and for building out the new premises on site, both to avoid any danger of land banking and to bring the advantage of a completed scheme to Broad Street as quickly as possible. In terms of private sector investment into the site, I've no knowledge at all about the content of the tender responses, but on general principles, I'd be surprised if the developer investment into building out the site after acquisition will not be in the high hundreds of thousands of pounds. So, once completed, redevelopment of the key site of the former Barclays Bank will have been achieved to the benefit of government, whose grant money will have produced a high social and economic benefit, to the benefit of FDC, in an amount to be determined next month, and much more importantly, to the benefit of all those who use March Town Centre and who will benefit for years to come from the improvements generated as a result of the successful March Future High Street Fund schemes. And just to conclude, it's worth listing those improvements. Significant public realm improvements, reduced shop vacancy rates, new businesses opening and creating employment, increased footfall and dwell time, increased town centre spend, rising land values, improving greenery and lighting, additional parking capacity at City Road, resurfacing of the Marketplace car park, additional taxi bays, additional bus bays, heritage protection through reconditioning the fountain, heritage enhancement through war memorial lighting and flag installation, demolition of the old toilets and construction of new modern facilities, reduced vehicle journey times, improved road safety through reduced vehicle speeds, increased pedestrian priority through multiple new crossings, improved air quality due to reduced standing traffic, reduced environmental noise, reduced antisocial behaviour through the use of designing out principles, the removal of a key market failure site widely regarded as an architecturally inappropriate eyesore in a most prominent location, the creation of an attractive development-ready anchor site, the development of additional residential accommodation through living above the shop grants, and the delivery of improved shop fronts. But to sum up, we achieved almost 60% more socio-economic benefit from the March Future High Street Fund than government had required. A significant capital receipt will be received by Fenland District Council, as well as externally funded improvement to our assets, and the benefit from regeneration will be spent in March for a generation or more. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Cutler, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, I should mention that I sit on the Village Hall Committee that recently formed a merger to also manage Murrow Playing Field. As previously mentioned, Murrow has no facilities of a thriving village and is in dire need of play equipment, gym equipment and picnic benches. If I heard young families say they choose to take their children to Parson Drove, Gorefield or Guyerne playing fields or Wisbeach Park, that would be great because choice is a good thing. But it's really sad to hear families say that they have to take their children to the mentioned parks because there is nothing for them in Murrow. I am well aware that Fenland District Council does not own the playing field, but if residents can't turn to their local council for help when they need it, who can they turn to? I know the council are not miracle workers and can't provide everything, but when there is a village in its district that is so badly neglected, it is a poor state of affairs if the council does not attempt to do something. There are other playing fields in my ward that would not say no to an update of equipment if it is forthcoming. However, Murrow is in the greatest need. I have not been asked by residents to speak up for the other playing fields, but Murrow residents are asking to be heard. I have responded to Councillor Seaton's email regarding the Pride in Place impact funding available for villages and outlined the requirements for Murrow. So thank you, Councillor Seaton, for that email. Question, Councillor Bowden. Has the assessment for Murrow Playing Field been completed yet as part of the Fenland Inspire project? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bowden.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'll recognise the work that Councillor Cutler has done over some period of time to promote the need for additional expenditure on play equipment in Murray. We have been awarded £1.5 million, most, if not all of which, will end up going on play equipment and play areas. But I have to say that we actually haven't had a comprehensive list of all play areas and play equipment in the whole of the district. And the reason is that whilst Fenland District Council provides a significant amount of play equipment and play areas in the district, we also have several places, particularly in the more rural areas, where charities have provided that equipment. And we also have quite a number of areas, especially in the last few years, where Section 106 agreements have been reached for developers to provide that equipment, with the developers either continuing to support the maintenance of that equipment or it going to local residents' organisations which succeeded the developers. So, given that we must complete all of the ordering of this new equipment by 31st March 2027 as part of the grant conditions, it's really important that we get this right. And the best people to know what is required and where it's required and where there is land which is suitable and available for it to be installed, the best people are actually these people I'm looking at now, the members of this council and the knowledge they have of their own wards. That's why at the Cabinet meeting, which took place a couple of hours ago, it was agreed that the portfolio holder who is looking after this, Councillor Imafidon, will be writing immediately to all members of this council, asking for their detailed opinion about what is required and where. That will need to be done very quickly because we have also agreed that at the March meeting of Cabinet, we will have back to us a list of proposed schemes which will be undertaken. But there is always the danger or perception of favouritism here, geographically more than anything else. So what we've also agreed at Cabinet is that of that 1.5 million, approximately, it's got to be approximate because these schemes have a discrete value, but approximately £250,000 will be allocated to each of the 4 towns, and the remaining £500,000 would be allocated to the parished areas outside our 4 market towns. Now, I know proportionately that favours the parished areas over the urban areas, or rather the market town areas. But to be honest, I believe there is more difficulty accessing play equipment in some of our rural areas as opposed to some of our towns. All of our towns have a fair amount of play equipment, whereas in the more rural areas it can be some distance away. But again, this is something that you as members know very well in your own area, what's required, where it's required, where there is a real cold spot. So I would encourage you to respond to the email that you will receive from Councillor Imafidon. I'm not going to give any promises about anything. I'm not going to be dictating all of this, but the circumstances that you have just described, Councillor Cutler, are exactly those which match what we're looking for. So long as there is the area, there is the place to be able to locate the play equipment, then I would have thought that what you're putting forward would stand a very good chance indeed. But this matter will be coming back to Cabinet next month for a decision so that we can move forwards. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that response.
Councillor Miskanda.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Approximately 18 months ago, CMT and officers visited the Manor Leisure Centre in rather a wet period of time. It was agreed at that meeting that a footpath should be put round of 1.46 kilometres round the manor, remembering the manor is the only park area owned by Fenland that doesn't have a footpath in it. It's mud infested because for 3 to 4 months of the year, parts of that field cannot be used other than walking in Wellingtons. So it was then decided that a footpath would be sent round it, and officers got costings and things, but nothing's been heard of it since. I would like to know what's happened with that proposal, because I'm being asked by residents who use the manor, bearing in mind we've just had 46 days of virtually continuous rain and drizzle, which has made the lower end of the manor virtually unusable for anybody walking around. So I'd like to know what is going to happen and when is that footpath going to be put in so that the residents can use their pushchairs, disabled buggies, wheelchairs, and even people just walking around without having to wear Wellingtons and waders. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bowden? Sorry. Councillor Seaton.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for that question, Councillor Miss Scanlon. You're quite right. It has been delayed for a while, and that is due in much part to the local government reorganisation, where we have now got, as you know, the Inspire projects running. Phase 1 of the Inspire projects are already in full progress. Phase 2 is waiting until we know what is actually happening with local government reorganisation. Now, we were hoping at one stage this would be June time. It looks like now it could be later in the year. I think has been said earlier that decisions coming out of government seem to change like the wind. So, you know, no one should hold their breath at this moment about exactly when we're going to know. But I do totally agree. It is the only park in our market towns that does not have a pathway. And once we get the okay from, or when we know exactly what is happening with the local government reorganisation, phase 2 will kick in. There will need to be, with the pathway at Manor Park, there will need to be a small amount of money funding because we'll have to design it. It'll have to go out for the normal progress, and also we'll need permission from middle level because the river running right close, as you well know, and it'll have to go through planning. But it's not a massive, you know, it will be ready to go as soon as we know what is happening with the local government reorganisation. And when we know that, then phase 2 will kick in, and there'll be a priority then of the items on phase 2. And without making any promises, I can see that being towards the top of the list. So I hope that gives you some sort of comfort in the fact that it's not been forgotten at all. It has been held up, as I say, by what's been happening coming from central government.
Thank you. Councillor Hoy.
Thank you. My questions to the leader. I apologise I haven't given you notice of this, but hopefully there shouldn't be. One of them I don't mind getting an answer in writing to, and the first one hopefully should be an easy yes. So my first question relates to Grade 2 listed buildings. So Wisbech has a higher number of Grade 2 listed buildings per square metre than Westminster, not in total, because Westminster has over 1,000 and we have 266. But if you look on pure square meterage, we have the most. And I only recently found out, along with Steve Barclay, that if you have a derelict Grade 2 listed building, you don't pay business rates, which seems very counterintuitive to get people to repair derelict Grade 2 listed buildings. And so the first question was, would you join Steve Barclay in sort of writing to or pressuring the government to change that policy? Because it just seems a ludicrous policy. Like, no wonder people are just leaving empty Grade 2 listed buildings, because why would they not? Why would they repair them and then have a business rates bill? It seems ludicrous. And then the second question was related to Constantine House. Obviously, there was work done to that after the fire, and it is now, again, looking in a bit of a sad state for itself. I don't know what the situation is with that, whether it's being land banked as a tax write-off, whether it's this free business rate situation, I don't know. So my question on that, and I appreciate that I don't expect you to have the answers now, so I'm happy to have it at a later date, but it would be useful to know, do we know the owner? If we do, can we contact them and see what their future plans are, and also to find out if they are paying business rates on that building? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bowden.
Well, I'm afraid the second question is outside my area of direct responsibility, and I don't have the answer to that. It's possible that Councillor Laws may well have a partial answer to that, and maybe she can give an answer immediately after me on that. To the extent that we're not able to answer your question now, then of course something will be provided in writing to you. As far as the first question is concerned, I am hesitant about giving any support for anything to do with changes to the national non-domestic rate system. The reason is, it is an horrendously complicated system. There are all sorts of checks and balances within it, some of which don't work very well. And it may seem advantageous to start taxing owners of buildings to try and encourage them to bring them into use. We do it, for example, effectively with council tax on empty homes. But the unintended consequences of that could be quite significant in terms of buildings that ending up being abandoned. So with respect, I need to give some thought as to that. As I've said before, it always helps if I've given a little bit of advance notice. It gives me a chance to consider questions coming up. But that one in particular could be rather more complicated than the simple yes or no answer which you suggest, Councillor Hoy. So, Chairman, if I may, I'll just hold on that one for a bit. Happy to discuss it later.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Well known at County Council for the highways. We're going to be having some serious accidents this year with tractors and trailers rolling over with the way the roads are actually cambering away. So there was a machine offered to Cambridge County Council called a Pothole Pro. The manufacturer, JCB, Lord Bamford, offered that to County for a week, including the members of staff that know how to operate that machine. And as far as my knowledge is assured of this, it goes up to the pothole and it actually digs the pothole out into a square, and then it sort of seals the edges, fills the hole up with fresh tarmac, reheat seals it, and then on to the next hole. And it was stated that there would be approximately 900 potholes filled in by this machine in 1 week, properly. And County Council, the chief exec, actually said, no, we don't want it. We're quite happy with the dragon patches. Now, my question is that under the Highways Act, within sections A1, A2, B1, B2s, which is the basic, the damage to the roads, the repairs that have got to be done, can that chief exec actually sit there above his councillors and say, we don't want that, when some of his councillors are saying, well, actually, we do? Because when you look at something else called HOS, which is Highways Standards, they're very, very close at the moment to actually receiving a lot of fines and potential payout and claims damages. Why would you not accept a free machine for a week? All County got to do was run fresh tarmac to this machine and take the old stuff away. One vehicle could have run that and kept that machine going all week. 900 potholes, and it was refused. Has the chief exec actually got the right and the permission to carry out that? No. Thank you.
Councillor Bowden.
Thank you very much indeed. It is indeed my lucky day for getting questions, isn't it? That is a question which is outside the scope of Fenland District Council. But having said that, every single one of us will be more than aware, both from personal experience and from the comments made by our residents, about just how desperate the pothole situation is. And I get the impression that it's as though Cambridgeshire Highways didn't realise that winter was coming this year, and that winter is the time the potholes appear. There was virtually no work done on potholes from December, when they started appearing, all the way through to the beginning of February. And in some places, there's still been no work done on the potholes. And the situation is truly dreadful, truly appalling. There have been many cases of damage to tyres or to cars. And in many cases, the statutory override which exists, which from memory is section 58 of the Highways Act, will not apply because county highways have been well aware for a very long time of the defect, and they failed to act in an appropriate timescale to get the defect sorted out. And that's why the allegation you're making is so shocking. Because I can imagine JCB are doing this as a promotional tool for their own business interests. They're not doing it out of the kindness of their hearts for the interests of the people of Cambridgeshire. They want to show that they've got a tool, what do they call it? A pothole pro. They want to show they've got a tool which works well. So I can understand their commercial reasons for making the offer. But given the lack of capacity that we clearly have had, and I know the County Council has brought in extra capacity because of the desperate situation we've now got ourselves in, given that, I would have expected that County Highways would have jumped at the chance for this free machine with a free team of individuals. Whether they managed to achieve 900 potholes or not in a week, I don't know. But I'd have thought they'd jump at that chance. Now, there is a contractual issue, and that is that the County Council actually have a contract in place for a contractor who, very often through subcontractors, is responsible for highways work. But that can be got around by, if necessary, making a payment to the contractor for the work, for the profit that they lose as a result of the work done by this pothole pro. So I'd have thought there were ways around it. And if the allegation you are making is true, then it is truly shocking for the County Council and even more shocking for the residents of Fenland.
Thank you. Councillor Weiss.
Thank you. I have two questions, possibly three, quite short ones, but I'm happy to take them one at a time. The first question is a request for information. The Work Well programme, which is being run in Finland, as is indicated in the reports, seems to be doing quite well. The statistics given are singular. There is no indication of how, what, who they apply to. So could I ask, please, Chair, through you, for a breakdown of the statistics town-wise as far as Finland is concerned, and also the contact centres in each town and how it can be further promoted. The government's Getting Britain to Work programme is being instituted through the CPCA's committee, and is there any integration between these two programmes? That's the first question. Is that, I mean, should I ask the second, which has nothing to do with the first?
Councillor Waldworth.
Yes, hello, thank you. So yes, I can get you the breakdown of the details of where the referrals are coming from. I think you're very much wanting to know about Whittlesea. And just to be, you want to say something?
Absolutely, that in particular, but Fenland towns as a whole, because Fenland featured very, very low in the socioeconomic status in deprived areas of the UK, whatever KPIs you use. Therefore, I think it is important that we get hold of it and maybe initiate something, or maybe not, either through CPCA, County Council, or the District Council. Thank you.
No, that's absolutely fine. I'm more than happy to do that. I was just going to sit and say I have found out for January for you, and January Whittlesea numbers are quite low in terms of referrals across the board for Fenland. So Whittlesea has only been 3 active. So there might be more referrals, but 3 that have actually engaged in the project. So for January, there's only been 3, but I will break down, get that breakdown to you and anyone else that would like to know that. In terms of promotion, the Workwell team have gone around to all the PCNs, so that's Primary Care Network for anyone that doesn't know. So they're front-facing NHS workers that do the groundwork, basically, to make sure that we take off the higher needs, so we allow the higher need services to be used by the appropriate people. So they've gone around to all the PCNs, they've gone around to all the staff meetings in the local practices, or if they haven't, they're going to, it's all on their agenda. They go to all of the work projects in the area, they go to Golden Age, they go to anything community-wise that they can do in terms of promotion. Obviously, there's still work to be done. And actually, no, I'll take that back. That's actually not, they're still ongoing, but I would sit there and say the reason there was less referrals from certain places is because, one, it's still, I mean, they've been going since October 24, but actually there's still quite a new service in terms of services, actually, especially within the NHS sort of field. Trust is a big thing, so we have to wait until they've got them quite established for partner agencies. So there's still quite baby terms in terms of services. And in terms of CPCA, I'm not totally sure, if I'm completely honest. I know we've been getting on with our thing. I'm not sure they're even joined up at the moment, but I will look into that for you as well, if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that answer. Second question is, part of it has already been asked by Councillor Ms Camden. Thank you for that. But it goes a little bit wider. May I ask that, as far as Manor Leisure Centre in Whittlesey is concerned, there was a public consultation back in, I think, October. What were the findings of that consultation? And how were they analysed, and have they been incorporated into REBA 3? REBA, for colleagues who may not be aware, is the Royal Institute of British Architects, and 3 applies that this is the third version of the drawing that we are going through. And I have a particular reference to the mixed gender changing rooms. Thank you.
Councillor Count?
Thank you. Yes, the consultation responses were fully dealt with in the last paper that went to Cabinet. Rather than going into that in detail, I'll send you a link to the Cabinet paper so you can read every response on every single area. Okay?
Thank you for that. I have actually conducted a survey of my own because the feeling in the town was such. I received 315 replies, Chair. 277 were against mixed gender changing rooms. 21 weren't too bothered, and 17 were in favour. Given these percentages, which are 87, 21 and 17 respectively, would it not be right for the council to incorporate these to reflect the wishes of the residents of Whittlesey? Or is it that the council knows best and the freedom of choice to the residents of Whittlesey is to be denied? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Count?
Yes, thank you. On the subject of the mixed changing rooms, which were covered in that paper, these were brought forward by Sport England, who obviously have a lot of interest across the whole of the country and a lot of feedback across the whole of the country. This is working very well nationally and is very well received nationally. We have it operating in the leisure centres across the district already in the other leisure centres, and all members were offered a choice to go and visit the other leisure centres to see how well they operate. I appreciate that if you've gone out and you've asked a question of the local residents what they want in a certain way, you've got a certain feedback, but your individual survey is not matched by the findings, shall we say, nationally through Sport England, and also the recommendation of the experiences of the whole of the district, excluding those that haven't got it yet. So yes, it has moved forward in that respect with the mixed changing room for the wet side. There is a non-mixed one in the dry side, and there would always be the option for anybody who felt particularly anxious about that to go and change there and use that entrance then into the pool. So I hope that helps allay some of your fears. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hay?
Thank you. I have a question about public toilets. Chatteris has 3 public toilets in Chatteris to serve the whole of the town. They're situated near the library, near the middle of the town. And for some months now, 2 of those toilets have not been usable because they've been locked up. I understand there's a problem with the locks. The third one, which is the disabled toilet, is in such a state that people are refusing to use it. One man wrote to the council, he's got a stoma bag. He'd been out on a rambling exercise, went to use it, was in such a state, he risked walking home, having an accident walking home, rather than use those toilets. We're hearing from mothers with young babies, they won't use the changing facilities because of the state of that particular toilet, which, remembering it's a disabled toilet, doesn't even have a toilet seat, or it didn't at the last time we looked. What I want to know is when is something going to be done to bring these up to an acceptable standard. I think people in Chatteris have been shortchanged for many months now. It needs to be done quickly.
Thank you. Take that one. Councillor Burden?
Sorry, I didn't know I was going to be answering that question. I've got a great deal of sympathy. I've already spoken with Councillor Hay on this subject, and I don't believe that there will be budgetary availability to do this work, which is why I have been investigating, and I think I've been successful in finding a way outside the budget for this work to be done. I'm not making a promise about that, but I will be in touch with Councillor Hay and with any other Chatteris councillors or the Chatteris clerk who may be concerned about this. And one way or another, I hope that that work will be done and done fairly soon. But I'm not giving a 100% guarantee, but I think I found a way in which that can be done.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? No hands raised. Okay, item 8 is a motion on notice from Councillor Bowden, which appears at pages 39 to 40 of the agenda pack. Councillor Bowden, would you like to move your motion? You have 5 minutes to present the motion and say anything you wish about it. Your next opportunity to speak will be when summing up.
Thank you. We've got a long meeting still ahead of us, and I don't really want to speak for 5 minutes. I'm quite sure none of you want to hear me speak for 5 minutes on this. But we have a local plan which we're moving forwards to try and achieve as quickly as we possibly can, and we're trying to do it with a timetable which will allow this council, before it is abolished, to make the final decision about what should or should not be in our local plan, rather than leaving it to a new unitary authority who won't necessarily have the same perspective on Fenland that we do. In order to do this, we need quite a lot of evidence on a whole host of areas. And one of those particularly is to do with transport and transport bottlenecks. And whilst we are aware that some very good evidence has been provided and has been obtained both for Wisbech and for March, the same isn't true for Chatteris and for Whittlesea. Now, Chatteris and Whittlesea both have different problems so far as traffic congestion and traffic bottlenecks are concerned, but the analysis is pretty much the same that is going to be required in order to produce the evidence which we will need to feed into the local plan process. And that's what this motion is meant to achieve, to authorise obtaining that necessary technical information, feeding it in to the local plan process. But additionally, the Mayor of the Combined Authority has said that this evidence, as far as Whittlesea is concerned, will be able to be utilised by him to consider the funding of the next stage of the reports required for the Whittlesea Southern Relief Road. So it's got more than one purpose, this, but the main purpose is to support what we're trying to do in the local plan and make sure that both Chatteris and Whittlesea have the same standard of evidence available for decision making that our other two towns have got. And Whittlesea, of course, as members may well be aware, is the only one of our market towns which has a bypass, but it goes through the town centre. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the proposal? Councillor Laws. Thank you. You can reserve your right to speak at the end of the debate or at time of seconding. Which would you like? Reserve. Thank you. Councillor Christie, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to say I speak in strong support of the motion, and I do so know my capacity as the portfolio holder for transport, because I believe this motion goes to the heart of a challenge we've lived with for far too long, and the simple fact that Fenland's economic future is constrained by the resilience of its transport network. As portfolio holder, I cannot ignore the fact that we're trying to plan for the next 25 years with evidence that simply isn't fit for purpose. If we want to deliver the Fens growth triangle, then all three corners must have the same level of technical rigour. Right now, they do not, and this motion corrects that. It also rightly recognises the emerging pressures around Chatteris with the Fens Reservoir and other major projects on the horizon. We cannot afford to rely solely on developer-led modelling. We need our own independent strategic analysis that protects our communities and ensures infrastructure is designed for Fenland's benefit. So members, this is not just a transport issue, it is an economic issue, a resilience issue and a fairness issue. If we want balanced growth across Fenland, then we must first ensure balanced evidence. I think this motion gives us the tools to break the bottlenecks, literally and figuratively, and to unlock the potential of Whittlesea, Chatteris and the wider district. Therefore, I commend this motion to Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I support this motion. I mean, it is disappointing that this won't happen as a matter of course with the local plan, because you'd expect that as we go through the various stages of the local plan, that the appropriate evidence is obtained. That being said, let's make sure that it is actually put in place. So, yeah, I support the motion.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Laws, would you like to speak now? Thank you. Councillor Burton, would you like to sum up?
No,
Thank you. We will now move to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion therefore is carried. Item 8 is a motion on notice from Councillor Laws, which appears at pages 41 to 42 of the agenda pack. Councillor Laws, would you like to move your motion? You have 5 minutes to present the motion and say anything you wish about it. Your next opportunity to speak will then be when summing up.
Thank you, Chair. The motion on reducing the B1040 close your risk owing to flooding. Significant disruption is caused both in Whittlesea and in our neighbouring areas each time the B1040 is closed because of flooding or potential flooding of the Whittlesea Washes flood storage reservoir. Floodwater is deliberately stored on the Whittlesea Washes when high water levels on the River Nene cannot be released downstream because of high tides. The Whittlesea Washes therefore play a vital role in reducing the risk of flooding in a wide area used for residential, commercial and agricultural uses. Operating of the Whittlesea Washes system is managed by the Environment Agency, primarily using the control of sluice gates at Stanground to allow ingress of water to the washes, with the water ingress from the washes back into the River Nene being controlled at Ringsend, some 18 kilometres further downstream. The EA monitoring station at Wansford is a crucial indicator for predicting the need to operate the sluice gates at Stanground. Unfortunately, much of the sluice infrastructure is old and does not always function correctly. The actual installation was put in 1929 to 1930. Additionally, monitoring equipment measures water levels and the operations of the sluice gates has also proved not to be wholly reliable. As a result, there have been several occasions recently where more water has been allowed to flow into the Whittlesea Washes than strictly necessary, or where water has been taken off the washes as quickly as possible because of the equipment failure at Ringsend. The amount of water on the Whittlesea Washes directly affects both the need to close the B1040 and the amount of time it needs to remain closed. Closure of the B1040 have a significant financial and social impact on Whittlesea and its surrounding communities. Whatever can be done to reduce the number or the length of time of these road closures will have a major and positive on the whole area. Full Council, therefore, number 1, agrees that FDC liaise with the EA to arrange for real-time or near real-time access to the EA data measuring cubics, which is cubic metres per second of water flowing through the River Nene upstream at Wansford. Number 2, agrees that Fenland District Council liaises with the EA to arrange for readings to be made more widely available of the percentage opening of the automated sluice gates as downground sluice. 1, when the automated sluice gates are open, and B, when the cubics measure at Wansford is closed to the level when the automated sluice gates as downground may be open. Number 3, agrees that Fenland District Council proposed to the EA that a Whittlesea Washes Interest Group, WWIG, be established to improve communication between the decision-making by the EA, the Highways Authority, North Level IDB and local councillors and landowners, so far as management of the water in the washes is concerned. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. The item is now open for discussion, and members are reminded they are each able to speak once. Councillor Nawaz.
Thank you, Chair. There is an old Chinese saying, if you want to get rich, build roads first. And not only is it a saying, they have actually done it with the Belt and Road Initiative enveloping half the globe, connecting Europe, Asia, and Africa. And yes, they are rich now, much richer than we are, and probably will soon be the richest nation. Now, contrast this with the state of road connections of Whittlesea. Our bridge is running only one lane for well over a year now. And that was supposed to be our main arterial connection between the east and the west of Whittlesea. West is the connecting Peterborough, which is a transport hub. So if you want to go to the north of the country or the south, or to Peterborough itself, be it for the hospital, for education, or for other social needs or shopping or whatever, we have to face huge delays. And I am a victim of this on repeat occasions. A number of occasions I have allowed extra time to get from Peterborough or Hampton, the gym, to come to the meetings. The last meeting I was half an hour late, having allowed 1 extra hour to get from the gym to Whittlesea. So I think the roads that we do have, at the time they are available to use, they're riddled with potholes, with crater holes. I think the moon would be envious of Whittlesea in terms of the crater holes. So many people have had their cars damaged, their tires punctured, blowouts, alloys damaged. And one case I had last week was a lady who had to incur an expense of £600. These are not rich people. We can't afford this kind of money, not only in having to do these repairs, but working in order to sort of delays. And when Councillor Laws says that about the socio-economic impact, I think the quote I've used is very pertinent to what Councillor Laws has said, and it reflects what she has said. in reality. So thank you very much, Councillor Laws, for bringing up this very, very important subject. And I would fully support this, Chair, and I hope everyone else does too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? No? Councillor Bowden, would you like to exercise your right to speak?
Thank you. Briefly, if I may, Chairman. I don't know, residents from other parts of Finland may not be aware just how great, how frustrating the situation is for people who live in Whittlesea, having had now the best part of 20 months of restricted working on a bridge where we were told it might be for just over a week. That was almost 20 months ago. On top of that, we have the perennial problem of our secondary option to get towards Peterborough, the B1040, closing on a quite frequent basis, although unpredictable basis, depending upon flooding of the Whittlesea washes. Things have got to the stage where we've actually got gallows humour now in Whittlesea, and I've heard it said that on the A605 in Whittlesea, whilst we used to drive on the left of the road, now we end up driving on what's left of the road. And people have got to the stage of despair, to the extent of some people moving away from Whittlesea because they can't put up with it anymore. Now, as far as the repairs are concerned, yes, we know County Council haven't done a particularly good job, putting it mildly, and one only hopes that the new unitary authority will do better under different control. But as far as the big changes are concerned, the major infrastructure projects to try and improve our road connectivity, all of those are horrendously expensive and will take a long time to be delivered. What this motion is about is something much more short term, and that is the ability to get the information which is required by local people so we can monitor if the sluice gates are actually working properly or not and alert the EA, which we've had to do on repeated occasions when we've discovered that their sluice gates haven't been working properly, sometimes for days at a time. And when they don't work properly for days at a time, the B1040 gets closed for days longer than it needed to be. And people are utterly, utterly frustrated by that. So that's what this is designed to do. And we need better coordination with the EA, with North Level and with others, the highways authorities, so that the traffic problems that we have on the Whittlesea washes as a result of the water management there, that those problems are recognised and that they're minimised as far as possible. The EA are stretched, maybe that's a fair word to use about them, at the best of times, but it's not as though they don't care, it's just that their focus goes from one thing to another. And the idea of setting up a Whittlesea Washers Interest Group is to try to ensure that all those who have a part to play in keeping the B1040 open as long as possible are able to be in communication with each other and have some degree of common purpose. So that's what this is designed for, and I strongly encourage you all to vote for it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Laws, would you like to sum up?
Thank you, Chair. I think Councillor Bowden has actually done that for me. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions?
Unanimous decision, Chair.
Thank you. The motion is now carried. Item 10 is a motion on notice from Councillor Taylor, which appears at pages 43 to 44 of the agenda pack. Councillor Taylor, would you like to move your motion? You have 5 minutes to present the motion and say anything you wish about it. Your next opportunity to speak will then be summing up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, this is quite a technical motion. And what I would like to ask is that if you put all your personal thoughts to one side and actually listen to the wording of this to try and define exactly what we mean and what this is about. So in December 25, government published what it called a new animal welfare strategy. Now, while some of the measures contained within the strategy truly promote animal welfare and are to be applauded, Other elements merely pander to the ill-informed anti-countryside ideological agenda, which some elements of government appear to have swallowed wholesale. Among measures being promoted within or connected with this new strategy are as follows: banning all pig farrowing crate systems. Now, we're in England, so there's approximately 60 to 70% of British pigs are actually outdoor, bred and reared outdoors. Some do farrow down inside, and the farrowing crate is there to prevent the sow from rolling over, laying on the piglets and killing them. And once the piglets have got to a few days old, the sow can be moved out of the farrowing crate. They want to ban trail hunting. Now, when Labour banned hunting, they actually made the rule of where trail hunting is now permitted. This is what you can do. Well, now they want to ban that. Banning all snare traps, even when they are the most effective measure to reduce predation on farm animals. They're bringing in, or trying to bring in, a considerable list of no hunting with dogs. I don't think that's just fox hunting. That is your pheasant shoots, your game shoots, your rat packs. They will all go. They are all defined as hunting with dogs. Pest control, food security. No hunting with birds of prey. So there again, a lot of pest control can't be done because you can't fly your birds of prey. We have a considerable amount of dog trainers, dog breeders and working dog people here in Finland, and we have several falconers and falconry centres. No hunting of rabbits. How are you going to control a rabbit then? And they can have anywhere up to 30 young a year. Farms will be decimated. No hunting of hares for 6 months. Well, they already are. They're classed as game. They can only control and shoot hares the same time as pheasants. They're not a pest. They're not a rabbit. Obviously, Labour don't know the difference between a rabbit and a hare. No caged hens, but yet at Smithfield Market every week there is pallets and pallets of eggs imported from the Ukraine from caged hens. He wants to ban puppy farms. Now, this is quite a real tight one to keep your eye on because it is quite a sickening thing, this one for me. So he wants to ban puppy farms, but yet MBR acres at Huntingdon are being permitted to continue. Up to 6,000 beagles a year bred there in puppies just to be tested on. He wants to ban animal testing, but yet MBR acres still allowed to continue. And those puppies are tested with all sorts. Once those puppies are died and are killed, they are then travelled in secure vans to an incinerator in Ipswich. It is one of the only incinerators in the country that can actually handle toxic burning. So this is really about animal welfare. It just does not make sense. He's bringing in docking and castrating of lambs, where you use the docking and castrating rings yourselves. He wanted to ban that, although he has U-turned now on the docking. Castration's purely got to be done by anaesthetic, but he's got no plan yet of how he's going to do that because he's come to the conclusion there isn't actually enough vets to ride about around the countryside during lambing season castrating. The stunning of pigs via CO2 is to be outlawed. Last year there was 30.1 million animals slaughtered non-stun, but yet only 397 reports of illegal fox hunting. Development and flooding is a massive disturbance to wildlife. Is he going to give the Environment Agency their funding back so that they can maintain the rivers and try and assist by not drowning water voles? There's many of us on the IDBs. If you get a bank slip nowadays, you can't just go out and repair the bank slip. No, you've got to get water vole survey done before you can repair the bank. Great. But it doesn't stop him flooding them because he's withdrawn the finance and the funding from the Environment Agency, which obviously, as Council Lawson has come up with, is heightening water levels. There's no mention of badgers being controlled, and they're the biggest predator to hedgehogs and ground nesting birds. So Fenland District Council welcomes measures which promote animal welfare, but Fenland District Council deprecates measures which masquerade as animal welfare measures, but which are in fact an attack on the country way of life, and which is an attack on established best practice in protecting farm animals and controlling vermin.
Councillor Taylor, you're overdoing your 5 minutes at the moment. Can you carry on?
So Full Council resolves to assist our rural partners by sending this motion to Steve Barclay MP, the Prime Minister, the Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, the Secretary of State for Energy, Security and Net Zero, the Leader of the Opposition, the Planning Inspectorate, Nigel Farage MP, Rupert Lowe MP and Mo Metcalfe-Fisher of the Countryside Alliance. This is not animal welfare. This is an attack on the countryside and the rural way of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Carney, thank you. Do you want to reserve your right to speak at the end, or would you like to speak now? Thank you. This item is now open for debate. Councillor Count.
Yes, thank you for bringing this forward, Councillor Taylor. I often listen to your views on farming because I am no expert in that field, and I understand you have a great deal of expertise, which I listen to. I read this with some concern because as a complete layperson, the thing that jumped out at me was stopping the hunting of rabbits. I know very, very little about farming, but I know what happens when I drive around the area at night time, and I know what happened back in, was it the 60s with myxomatosis. If there's not something done about rabbits, there will be an explosion. I really don't understand where this is being driven from, or what's driving this, or how they're going to expect the farming community to carry on, what their alternative plans are. So that really did jump off the page for me, and I hope that maybe you could explain that there is a counterpoint, but I do think that, like yourself, this is another thinly disguised attack on the rural welfare. The votes for somebody like a Labour government lie in urban areas, and their understanding that people that represent them generally come from urban areas. The Minister for Agriculture is Daniel Zeichner from Cambridge, who has had no jobs in agriculture in his life. You know, who's a computer IT expert and a career politician. So I don't understand where they're coming from with this one. The other one that gets me is the hunting of birds, using birds of prey. Now, that isn't a very common thing in my experience, but I've seen it used in places like football stadiums, Wimbledon, etc. And I struggle to think what the alternative is. If a pigeon comes in and you're trying to disrupt your worldwide tennis tour, you know, you can't go out and feed it a piece of poison. They're probably banning. You can't shoot it because there's crowds. You're in the middle of an urban area. This has been an effective management tool. Otherwise, people wouldn't use it. So there's two there that jump off the page. When I look at whether I will have the answers today or another day or where they're going with this, at the end of the day, it just raises our concerns with the people who may or may not listen, and actually tells them there is something here that's going on you need to be looking at. And I hope that those will be fed in, and perhaps somebody could explain this crazy world to me, but I don't really get it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marks.
Thank you. More of a point. Councillor Taylor has made reference to planning, and also he's made reference to development as well. As being on the planning committee, should we not vote on this?
Do you want me to respond?
Would you like to? Is no. You can respond.
Thank you, Councillor Marks. I don't think this motion has really anything to do with the planning or the planning system or any decisions that are going to come before the Fenland District Council Planning Committee. So I think Planning Committee members are okay to participate in the debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd just like to make quite clear that I would never personally choose to take part in any sort of hunting, even simulated hunting. That's a personal choice because I'm an animal lover. But I don't believe that my personal choices should dictate other people's personal choices. And I think where it is sensible, some of these things are appropriate. The 6 things listed in here, barring one I'll mention at the end, all seem to me to be reasonably sensible. I agree with what Councillor Taylor's motion is saying, even though I'm an animal lover, because I think birds of prey, this is what they do, and as has been correctly pointed out, has uses. I think hunting rabbits can become a real pest, and we do have to deal with that somehow. I don't know about terrier rat packs. I certainly wouldn't take part in it, but controlling pests is something that we have to do. Trail hunting isn't real hunting. They just lay a trail. I know that there's some controversy about that, but broadly they lay a trail and then chase down as if they were hunting. I think that's absolutely fine, and I think they should just get on with it if that's what they enjoy. The only one I do want to question Councillor Taylor about, if he wouldn't mind answering at the end when he sums up, is the pig farrowing, because I'm not an expert and I don't fully understand that. As I'm told, it means that pigs being kept in a very close environment, which doesn't seem fair to me. I prefer kind of free range. I'm a meat eater, but I think free range is preferable. But I do understand that perhaps it's done differently in the UK, and I would welcome some clarity from Councillor Taylor about that. Thank you.
Councillor Nawaz.
Thank you. I welcome the motive behind it, which is primarily the welfare of animals, and I think all of us would share that view. However, it is a question of balancing, particularly in the countryside, isn't it? And it's the farmers themselves who know what the best balance is to be had. And as has been alluded to, the rabbits, myxomatosis, as well as tuberculosis, bovine tuberculosis and so on, they have to be contained. And by a sweeping statement, one is restricting the freedom of choice, which in this case is exercised as a matter of the welfare of the farmers as well as the welfare of those animals. Secondly, I note here that it is to be forwarded to, apart from others, Nigel Farage, Rupert Lowe. Seem to have been 2 names selected out of a range of other political leaders of other political parties, and I fear such political adulteration will only deflect from the real motives of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. French. Councillor Christie.
Thank you, Chair. I sort of share some of the concerns that were raised by Councillor Vance and Councillor Tierney in there. Admittedly, I didn't have time to sort of look through this in too much detail, but I think with all these kinds of debates, it's good to have a balanced view of what's going on. And from what I could read in the reforms, and again, I think maybe we need a bit of time with it, I couldn't find in the reform where it actually says it's banning the hunting of rabbits and also banning terrier rat packs. I know there are implications in terms of some of the other reforms that are raised there. And I sort of share some of the concern about, have we got a right balance of information that we're using to inform this motion here. I mean, for my personal view, I'm sort of tending towards I might abstain from the vote now, not because I want to make it clear, not because I'm against animal welfare, certainly am, but I just don't think I've got all the information to make a decision at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Hoyle.
Just on the myxomatosis, I mean, that was introduced by the government to kill rabbits and control the population, and now we're complaining that myxomatosis is spreading and killing things. So we should be very careful when we do things as governments or councils. And I also just want to take a fond memory of Rabbit Roundabout. If we remember in Wisbeach, Rabbit Roundabout, and it used to make me so happy driving and seeing the little rabbits on that roundabout. And I was told, and I can't prove this, and most of the officers are no longer here who was there when they disappeared, and I wasn't a councillor when they disappeared, but I was told that a pest controller was employed to kill those rabbits. They didn't all magically contract myxomatosis and die overnight. So I very much hope that whoever was behind that decision is not still at Fenland District Council, because it is is very sad. And we just need to think about what we do, which is very weird for me to say because I am a meat eater, so maybe I should be, you know, practice what I preach and stop eating. I had a bacon sandwich this morning, it was delicious. You know, so I should perhaps think about that when I'm then supporting pigs or not supporting pigs in cages, because if I didn't eat them, they wouldn't perhaps be in cages. I don't know what I'm going to do on this because I don't know. I mean, I think it's difficult. I sort of take Hack's point as well about Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe. I'm a little bit bored of wanting to hear their opinion on everything. They aren't going to save the world. Like, they are just two people that I've already heard more than enough from in the last year.
Thank you. Any other questions or input? No? Yes. Councillor Bell.
Yeah. While I tend to agree with the sentiment of what Councillor Taylor's saying, I think some of it, looking at the animal welfare strategy and sort of, I think reiterating what Councillor Christie said, I can't see the mention of rabbit in it. I've done a word search, doesn't mention it. I've done a word search for terrier packs. I can't find it in that document. So it doesn't, the motion doesn't actually seem to reflect what is in the government strategy. So I'm a little bit concerned that we're voting for things here that aren't actually being proposed by the government. I want to get clarification where he's got that information from, because reading the document, it doesn't say it's going to ban the hunting of rabbits. Now, a lot of the other things it does. So it does mention about the crates, it does mention about CO2 for pig culling, and a lot of the other things. But there are bits in there which aren't actually contained, as far as I can see, in the strategy. And also, I've got to agree with Councillor Nawaz and Councillor Hoy regarding this point about why we singled out two members of Parliament. Well, they're both leaders of parties, fairly small parties in Parliament at the moment, with Mr. Lowe having just recently created a party. But surely, if we mean to be even-handed, we should be sending this to the leaders of all opposition parties to try and get as much support across the political spectrum as possible. So I would like to propose an amendment that we change it where it says leader of the opposition, that we say the leaders of all opposition parties, and remove those two names. Therefore, it will include those two individuals, but it therefore goes to all leaders of opposition parties, and I think it deflects the sort of political point out of it. So I will propose that amendment. I don't know if anyone will second it, but I'd like to get clarification, a point of clarification from Councillor Taylor on those points that have been raised about, you know, rabbits and the terrier packs. Now, there could be an unintended consequence from some of it, but reading the actual document, it doesn't mention rabbits by name from what I can see. However, I do agree that they are a pest and they do need to be controlled living in the rural area, and I do think there is too much rules being made from central government on the rural way of life. For example, you know, many years ago they stopped you being able to feed scraps to farm animals, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. They claimed there was a risk of disease being created. Well, I know on my nan's farm there was never an issue when she fed the scraps to the pigs there. So it's absolutely preposterous. I think sometimes they're a bit too hygienic in what they think needs to be done on farms.
Councillor Booth, you have indicated that you would like to move an amendment, so please could you now set out your proposal for debate?
Yeah, so where it says leader of the opposition, I would like it to be replaced with leaders of all opposition parties, and remove the names Nigel Farage MP and Rupert Lowe MP, so it will cover all political parties.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. No, it's an amendment to what Councillor Booth has said. Oh, right, go on now.
Who would like to second? Thank you.
Councillor Patrick. Was that Councillor Patrick? Or...
Patrick, yeah, Councillor Patrick, thank you. Would you like to speak now or reserve your right? Reserve. Thank you. Right, Councillor Viscount.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Councillor Booth recommends sending it to the leaders of all oppositions. The 650 MPs, everyone has an individual opinion. I think it should be sent to all MPs throughout the whole government so they all understand it, because they may all have or not agree with it. If necessary.
Councillor Iskandar, we can only take one amendment at a time. So you will have to wait until we're finished with this one. Thank you. So the item is now open for debate. Councillor Count.
We're debating Councillor Booth's amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney.
Yeah, just to say, I would support the amendment as long as Councillor Taylor's happy with it, because I think it makes perfect sense.
Does anyone else want to speak on this amendment?
Point of order, Chairman. I did ask for a point of clarification from Councillor Taylor. I know he's only supposed to sum up on the main motion, but I believe he can speak on the amendment. Yeah.
Right, so Councillor Patrick as seconder. Would you like to speak now?
So now we
Thank
get
you.
Councillor Taylor to sum up on the amendment.
Right, so Councillor Taylor, would you like to sum up on the amendment?
I'm quite happy to accept the amendment, Chair. Thank you.
Where are we? Yeah, so this is where we're up to.
There are no further speakers, therefore the proposal is that the original motion is amended so that
It reads,
leaders of all opposition parties
and that we remove Nigel Farage MP and Rupert Lowe MP.
and that we remove the two MPs that were mentioned.
Okay.
Right.
And then is that agreed?
Is that agreed? Yeah.
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 Okay, and now we go back.
Now we'll go back to the
these.
original motion.
Yeah, now amended.
Right, so would anybody else like to speak on the original motion?
No? So now we go back to Councillor Carney.
Oh, right.
You know, so Councillor Carney's coming back in as the seconder of the original motion.
So Councillor Carney, would you like to speak as seconder now? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Keep this brief, I'm aware of the time. I have done some background reading, and it seems as though the reason why the government are wanting to bring some of this in, when it comes to things like child hunting and hunting with dogs or terriers, hunting of rabbits, it seemed to be a bit of an own goal. When they brought in the 2004 Hunting Act, which came into force exactly 21 years ago, 18th February 2005, part of those provisions said at the time was to the rat packs or terrier packs to prevent damage to livestock and crops on farms. That was their own provisions to put in there. So now they've decided that here we are, 21 years later, everyone perhaps we shouldn't ought to be doing that. As for the banning of hunting with birds of prey, one of the things I did actually find out over the weekend was that the British or UK Hawk Board have said that can hawks realistically flush out and kill foxes? When they say reasonably, no, they can't, not single-handedly. So it just seemed to be a bit of a red herring on that one. Child hunting, as Councillor Tierney mentioned, and I believe also Councillor Taylor mentioned in his introduction. Again, prior to 2005, it never happened. Okay, trail hunting came about as a result of all these different hunts up and down the country. wanting to obviously exercise the dogs, the horses, the people, all what they do for enjoyment. And so the thing is that there's an alternative called drag hunting, the same sort of thing. They use aniseed or non-animal scent to do exactly the same thing. Then the reason, and this is on the government website, why they have brought this in, or why they are looking at it, is because trail hunting facilitates illegal hunting under a smoke screen of trail hunting. Well, you could sort of say it's a bit subjective, because whatever you regulate, there's always going to be an undercurrent. There's always going to be the sort of the dark side of it, isn't there? So, you know, you can't absolutely eliminate every instance of illegal hunting. So, sorry, but the question about farrowing crates, that is something which they have actually stated that they will not be looking to sort of change immediately overnight. They will be consulting with the pig industry to look at alternative options. And just quickly, hopefully not sort of treading on your toes, Councillor Taylor, but the farrowing crate system is where the sow is kept in a crate for about 5 days, and as soon as the piglets are weaned, then they are released into more open space, and it is just to stop the sow from rolling over and crushing the piglets. That said, 50% of the and this again is on the government website, 50% of the UK sows are given birth outdoors, and 8% of indoor pig breeders are actually now moving over to the non-crate system. So it looks to be an ongoing thing, but obviously this will probably accelerate it. But it does seem encouraging that the government is actually going to work with the industry rather than just sort of outright ban it overnight. So yeah, that's just, I just want to put a bit of background information. The main point being that some of the point, particularly with the hunting side of things, seem to be as a result of the government's own goal from 21 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor, would you like to sum up?
So, thank you very much, Councillor Carney. Councillor Tierney, do you want me to answer, or are you quite happy with Councillor Carney's description of the farrowing crate to start off with? You're fine, right? Okay. Councillor Count has come, as you mentioned, about birds of prey. What a lot of people don't realise is there is a horrendous amount of birds of prey that are used at airports. That's what clears the runways and that first before planes can actually take off. And indeed, there is several councils and buildings around the country that use birds of prey. If you get feral pigeons nesting in the roof of here, we can't really come in with an air rifle at night. You can't put a ferret up there at night, so you use the bird of prey from the outside to come in, same as churches, and all that will cease, because that will be, obviously, hunting with birds of prey. Councillor Booth, when you say about various things not being on the website as yet, don't forget we are talking about labour. They add and remove quicker than what we can stand here and talk about things. So where they say hunting with dogs, that is obviously a complete definition of anything that you hunt with a dog, whether that be game, terrier, packs, fox, whatever. But it's actually such a wide spectrum thing. But I do know a lot of it isn't actually listed yet because they can't keep the website updated as quick as they keep swapping and changing their minds. So the last thing I'm going to say on this one is, guys, I did say at the start, please put your personal ideas to one side and actually listen to the wording of what it's all about and what we're trying to achieve. And I would ask that you all actually support this motion. Each and every one of us actually represents a rural area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will now move to the vote. All those in favour?
Sorry, not a count. You put your hands right up, please. It's very difficult to see out here.
Yeah.
27.
Thank you.
All those against? Any abstentions?
No.
Thank you.
27 votes for, 9 abstentions.
Thank you. The motion is carried, therefore.
Thank you, Chair. We've all seen this business plan. We've all had a great chance to read it. It's been all the way through an ONS. I think we've pretty much talked it to death. My part in it was quite small in helping with the presentation of the plan rather than the production of the plan, which was everybody's job. So hopefully everybody's happy with it, but if you've got any questions, now's the time to ask them, and then I would propose that we do accept it and move forwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Yeah, Councillor Mafferdon, thank you. Would you like to exercise your right to speak now or later? Thank you. The item is now open for debate. No debate. Councillor Mafferdon, would you like to speak now? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Councillor Tierney.
Yes, just thank you to officers for working so hard to produce the business plan. I think it's a good one. Can we please all support it? Thank you.
Thank you, members. The recommendation is at page 45 for Full Council to consider and approve the business plan for 2026-27. Is that agreed? Yeah. Thank you. Agenda item 12. Item 12 is in relation to the corporate budget and medium-term financial strategy to include recommendations in relation to council tax support, and the report can be found on pages 65 to 116 of your agenda pack. Members are reminded that in relation to this item, paragraph 15.4 of the standing orders requires that a recorded vote is taken. I now call upon Councillor Bowden as leader and portfolio holder for finance to propose the report.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Members will be delighted to hear that when this was brought before Cabinet, just about 3 hours ago, a request was made from members of the Cabinet for me not to talk too long at Cabinet and leave my long speech for Full Council. And I gladly agreed to that. But I do recognise that you don't want to listen to me talking on this for a whole hour. Half an hour would be more than enough, for sure. Let's first of all look at what is reported for 2025-26. When I stood here a year ago, we were facing a budget which showed a shortfall to be met from reserves, we said, to be met from the Budget Equalisation Reserve, to be more precise, of £1.432 million. And I told you at the time, don't worry yourselves too much about that. That number is going to come down considerably, if not be eliminated entirely. And lo and behold, when we got to December's Cabinet meeting and January's O&S meeting, the projected deficit on the outturn had come down to 307,000. And I'm pleased to say that in this report, we now have a figure of a surplus for 25-6 of £107,000. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if that figure goes up a little bit in terms of an even larger surplus by the time we get to the final accounts being produced in a couple of months' time. And it's a pattern that we've seen many, many times before, because this council has a habit, has a predilection for budgeting very cautiously indeed. We budget cautiously on the amount of money we're going to get in, and we are prudent about how much we think we might end up spending on various things. And that's no bad thing at all, because it does mean that we're always erring on the side of caution. Now, Mark Saunders did that work as our chief accountant for many, many years, and he has now retired. And this budget is the first one to be produced by Sean Warren as our chief accountant. And I have to give an enormous amount of credit to her for the work that she's done in this, because this year has been one of the most difficult years for all local authority chief accountants around the country, because government has shaken up the local government support system to such an extent that none of the Section 151 officers around the country, or chief accountants, could make head nor tail of the announcements which have been made since December, including the final so-called final settlement, which was announced on February the 8th, February the 9th. So a lot of work has had to go in just to understand what it is that government has done so far as next year is concerned, 2026-27. And I'm sorry to say that once all the numbers were crunched, that we have a very poor story to tell for Finland, because we are receiving some £643,000 less in 2026-27 than we anticipated we would be receiving when we did our first calculations back in December last year. Government has announced that they've been very generous to the local government sector this year. And they say, and I'm not going to argue with their numbers, but the numbers themselves contain a little bit of a lie, but they say that local government settlement averages out at 5.7% across the country. I'm not going to deny that. Our figure is 2%, not 5.7%. And the reason that 5.7% is an inflated figure because significant amount of additional resources went to the areas where the Labour Party, the Labour government, are facing real problems in defending the urban seats, the urban councils that they control in the metropolitan areas around the country, and also in many of the London boroughs. So a significant amount of money went into those areas, quite coincidentally, just a few months before the local elections take place there. But even those figures of 5.7% and for us 2% are themselves deceptive, because they include an assumption by government that in our case, that we increase the council tax by the maximum legally allowed, that is 3%. So in fact, what they've given us is a 1% reduction in the amount of revenue support for our council. And it is therefore no great surprise that we are finding it difficult to have as optimistic a position for 2026-27 as we originally had hoped. Now, I am actually not massively concerned about what the outturn is going to be for 26-27, because there is significant scope for a lot of movement in that, just as there have been in every year that I've had this speech, and I've said every time the final outturn is going to be a lot better than the numbers you see here. And there are a whole host of areas where I believe there is a significant potential for that figure of £2.856 million, for that figure to be very substantially reduced, if not eliminated. And our Section 151 officer isn't particularly concerned about it either, which might be surprising until you realise that we've built up a reserve of some £2.2 million at the moment, might end up being 2.4 million by the end of this financial year, in the budget equalisation reserve, where each time we've been achieving a surplus at the end of the year, instead of just spending it, we've been saving it up to make sure that we can balance budgets in future years when things may be more difficult. Now, that budget equalisation reserve was set up by me 7 years ago, deliberately to equalise out the ups and downs so far as council tax is concerned. And I set that up on the assumption the Fenland District Council was going to carry on existing, certainly for as long as I was leader, and probably a lot longer than that. I wasn't to know that government planned to abolish us. And it does raise a question, a moral question for us, which I'll leave with you to ponder about over the course of the next 12 months. We said that what's now £2.2 million, that was being saved because it was residents' money. It was money we've taken from residents and haven't spent. And we were saving it to subsidise them in future years when council tax might have to be forced otherwise to go up. That option now looks much less likely because of local government reorganisation, So to whom should that £2.2 million belong? It certainly doesn't belong to me personally, nor does it belong to the officers. It belongs to the people. So maybe some consideration needs to be given over the next 12 months of what should be done with that figure of 2.2, possibly £2.4 million. But that's for next year. We've got to get through the next 12 months. And there are a lot of changes which are in this report. I'm not going to go through them one by one, you'll be delighted to hear. When you've got the national non-domestic rate system moved from a 2-band 2-rate system to a 5-band 4-rate system, it's enough to make my head spin, I have to tell you, and I'm just grateful that we've got people like Sean able to look at the situation and try and make some degree of sense about it. Overall, however, this budget has been produced on an assumption, generally, certainly on the revenue side. And the assumption is that we are not going to be abolished. And the reason for having that assumption is it's prudent to do so. If we are abolished in just over 2 years' time, then so be it, we'll make appropriate choices at the right time. But until that's officially announced, until that officially goes before Parliament in a suitable change order, until that happens, we can't be certain that local government reorganisation will go ahead. So we've got to carry on having a medium-term financial strategy. We've got to carry on being able to balance the books for years to come, just in case that is the situation. By this time next year, we will know what's going to happen, and then we may be making some different decisions. But as far as the revenue account of this budget is concerned, it's done on a carry-on-as-we-are basis, and that's the prudent thing to do. The capital side is slightly different. We've announced our intention, our desire, to spend quite a large amount of money, both in phase 1 and phase 2, on Fenland and Spire. Phase 2 of Fenland and Spire basically won't go ahead, or hardly any of it will go ahead, if it turns out that local government reorganisation is cancelled, because it would be financially imprudent for us to do so. So we won't know that position for quite a few months to come yet. But nevertheless, it's been incorporated within these figures because we have that prudent attitude that where something is potentially negative, we show it up at the earliest possible opportunity. So, as has been the case before, we continue to budget in a very prudent way. Some may say it's an over-prudent way. In fact, I used to say, when I was a councillor here for the first few years, that we systemically over-budget. And I came to like systemically over-budgeting because it gave a significant amount of cushion if anything were to go wrong. And when Sian took over as the chief accountant, I specifically asked her to carry on the policies that Mark Saunders had implemented for so many years of being maybe excessively prudent, but certainly being on the right side of the line. The council tax figure comes out when the numbers all dropped out as a small decrease, 0.55%. We could have just rounded that up, but the amount involved is relatively small. Nevertheless, it's almost a matter of principle that just because that amount which gets returned to residents is small, is no reason why we should disallow it. So that's been left in without being adjusted. The actual cash amount involved in that is a little more than £40,000 in the year. The national non-domestic rate figures, I think, are going to change very significantly over the course of the next 12 months, and we will see how that develops. I'm particularly pleased to see the amount of monies being systemically repaid by those NNDR payers who were behind with their payments, and there may need to be quite a significant re-evaluation of our position in 12 months' time on that. I don't want to go through in detail everything we've got in the Treasury Management statement because it's pretty similar to what we've had in the past. The annual Treasury investment strategy stays remarkably the same, and overall we continue to operate on a steady fashion in this council. That figure of £2.856 million may look intimidating. I can promise you I am not overly fazed by it, and I am very hopeful, I can't put it any more strongly than that, I'm very hopeful that that figure will be entirely eliminated by the time I stand up here, assuming I do, in 12 months' time and present the budget speech in a year's time. We do face challenges, we do face difficulties, but I have to say that the account staff that we have are very receptive to looking at things in different ways from the ways in which things have been done in the past, and the whole organisation is focused on getting costs down and of making sure that we get value for money. One of the things which has totally disappeared in this council, which you see in many other councils, there is no desire, there is no need, there is no imperative to spend all your budget in this year to make sure you don't lose budget next year. It doesn't exist as a culture in this council, and long may that be the case. So I am more than happy to propose, Madam Chairman, the various recommendations which are in this report. And I hope you don't mind my limiting my answers to, my speech to such a short period of time. If anyone has any questions, I'd be more than delighted to answer them. The more technical, the better, because the more technical they are, the longer the answer will be. Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hoy, thank you. Do you want to reserve your right to speak or speak now? Reserve. Thank you. The item is now open for debate. Anybody? Councillor Mrs. French.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to say thank you and congratulations to the staff and also the leader of the council. He does scrutinise everything financially, and he's actually quite mean at times giving money out. But the bigger thanks goes to the staff. So thank you all.
Thank you. You more? Yeah, Councillor Taylor.
Just to answer your question there a minute, Councillor French, are you saying that this is now the wrong time to ask him if we can buy our own pothole filling machine then, is it?
Thank you. Any more? Okay. Councillor Bowden, would you like to sum up?
I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Chairman.
There are no further speakers, therefore the detailed recommendations are as set out at pages 66 to 67 of the report. In accordance with the requirements of recorded votes, member services will now call out each of your names, and you must then indicate, please, whether you are for, against or abstaining from voting on the recommendations proposed. Please unmute your microphone to respond and then mute it again when you have finished. Member services, please can you now take the recorded vote?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Barber. Councillor Benny.
For.
Councillor Bowden.
For.
Councillor Booth.
For.
Councillor Carney. Councillor Christie.
For.
Councillor John Clark.
For.
Councillor Sam Clark.
For.
Councillor Count. Councillor Cutler.
For.
Councillor Mrs Davis.
For.
Councillor Foyce-Beard.
For.
Councillor Mrs French.
For.
Councillor Miss French. Councillor Harris.
For.
Councillor Hay.
For.
Councillor Hoy. Councillor Humphrey.
For.
Councillor Mafferdon.
For.
Councillor Mrs Laws.
For.
Councillor Marks. Councillor Miss Scanlon.
For.
Councillor Mockett.
For.
Councillor Murphy.
For.
Councillor Nawaz.
For.
Councillor Purser.
For.
Councillor Rackley. Councillor Roy.
For.
Councillor Seaton.
For.
Councillor Summers.
For.
Councillor Taylor. Councillor Tierney.
For.
Councillor Woolwork.
For.
Councillor Woolard.
For.
Thank you, Chairman. That's 34 votes. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. The recommendations have been agreed. Item 13 is in relation to the council tax resolution for, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Bowden, I left you out. I'm trying to get finished. Item 13 is in relation to the Council Tax Resolution for 2026-27 and the report can be found at pages 117 to 120. Members are again reminded that in relation to this item, paragraph 15.4 of the standing orders requires that a recorded vote is taken. I now call upon Councillor Bowden as leader and portfolio holder for finance to propose the report.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a formal motion which has to be passed every year, which puts into effect the decision we just made about the council tax from Fenland District Council, and also brings in council tax and precepts from other bodies, particularly from our parish councils. So this is all, it's a very standard, very, it's a statutory format, and I encourage everyone to vote in favour of it. Thank you very much indeed, Chairman.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Booth. You want to speak now or later? Later, thank you. The item is now open for debate. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, 9 years we will have frozen council tax. We're not doing it by doing loads of cuts. We're doing it by working better, working harder and working more intelligently. Not many councils in this whole country are doing what we are doing. It's special. Everyone should be proud of it. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Nawaz.
Yeah, thank you very much. Isn't it just almost unbelievable that one of the very few councils in the country that can maintain its council tax despite the inflation that was particularly high in the previous sort of 3-4 years. So I think, I don't particularly want to be political or anything, but, you know, it is a Conservative council, and I can't think of any other political party that has managed to sustain the same amount of council tax for 9 years running. So well done. Whether you're Conservative or not is irrelevant, but the fact that you happen to be Conservative, that's even better. Thank you very much, and I would fully support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more speakers? No? Okay, Councillor Booth, would you like to?
I'll bite my tongue, Chair. No further comment.
Thank you. Councillor Bowden, would you like to finish sum up?
No further comment. Thank you, Chairman.
As there are no further speakers, following the revenue budget for 2026-27 having now been set, the Council is required to pass the resolution set out on pages 117 to 120 of the agenda in order to set the council tax requirement with effect from the 1st of April 2026. I will now ask Member Services colleagues to ask each member in turn to vote.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Barber.
For.
Councillor Benny.
For.
Councillor Bowden.
For.
Councillor Booth.
For.
Councillor Carney. Councillor Christie.
For.
Councillor John Clark.
For.
Councillor Sam Clark.
For.
Councillor Count. Councillor Cutler.
For.
Councillor Mrs Davis. Councillor Foyce-Beard.
For.
Councillor Mrs French.
For.
Councillor Harris. Councillor Hay.
For.
Councillor Hoy.
For.
Councillor Humphrey.
For.
Councillor Mafford.
For.
Councillor Mrs Laws.
For.
Councillor Marks. Councillor Miss Scanlon.
For.
Councillor Mockett.
For.
Councillor Murphy.
For.
Councillor Nawaz.
For.
Councillor Purser.
For.
Councillor Rackley.
For.
Councillor Roy,
4.
Councillor Seaton,
4.
Councillor Summers,
4.
Councillor Taylor, Councillor Tierney,
4.
Councillor Warwork,
4.
Councillor Woolard.
4.
It's a unanimous decision, Chairman.
Thank you. The resolution has been passed. I really think we all need to have a clap. Agenda item 14 can be found at pages 121 to 218 of the agenda pack and seeks approval to adopt the updated waste strategy for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Waste Partnership and the associated Fenland recycling plan. I now call upon Councillor Tierney as portfolio holder for strategic waste to propose the report.
Thank you, Chair. It won't take too much of your time. I trust you've all read the report. We'll be asking you to approve and adopt the updated waste strategy for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Waste Partnership, and alongside that, the updated Fenland recycling plan. I'm not going to go through it all. I think you've seen it's a lot of paper, but it doesn't change anything very dramatic other than introducing some of the new services and new legislation that have happened. If anyone's got any questions, I will do my best to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Mrs. Faye. Wish to speak now or later? Thank you. The item is open for debate. Councillor Tierney, would you like to sum up?
Nothing more to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, members. The detailed recommendations are at page 121 to 122, and for full council to approve the updated joint waste strategy and Fenland recycling plan, subject to any final amendments. Are those recommendations agreed? Yeah. Thank you. Agenda item 15. This report can be found at pages 219 to 222 of the agenda pack. I now call upon Councillor Hoy as portfolio holder for licensing to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully it's quite self-explanatory. It's quite a brief but well-written report. The situation we have is that our licensing manager is now employed by Huntingdonshire District Council. We are using them part-time currently still while we look at future steps, and so we now need to kind of make that formal arrangement, and that's why we're entering this 113 agreement. So and hopefully we can update you as to next steps after that, but that's for the meantime.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Christie. Do you want to speak now or exercise your right for later? Later. Thank you. The item is open for debate. Councillor Laws, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say I would welcome this because I think we all know the officer involved and her knowledge is extremely useful and valuable to Fenland District Council, and I would happily support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? No. Councillor Christie, would you like to exercise your right?
Nothing further to add. I think it's all been said there. Very straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hoy, would you like to sum up?
Just very briefly, just to say, I think sadly this is a little bit of one of the casualties of LGR, and I think we're going to see this again actually, because we're now in a little bit of a quandary, and I think we'll find it with more services where if people do move on to other roles, and not saying that is because of LGR, we don't necessarily know why people move on, but do we replace them, or do we, for potentially a year? I have had a number of people contact me about potentially, it'd be nice to expand the licensing service, kind of being a bit more proactive rather than reactive. But again, do we invest a load of money and on a service that potentially won't be here in 18 months' time? So I just really wanted to put on record the fact that I don't think the government are really considering just quite how difficult it is, these changes they're suggesting, and quite how much it's going to affect statutory services. And all I think is that we're quite lucky that quite a lot of our services don't have people die if they go wrong, whereas if you're an upper tier, actually the consequences of your service failing are actually quite scary. So I think it's going to be quite bad as things go on, and I think we need a decision from government sooner rather than later, because with this uncertainty, it's helping no one.
Thank you. Members, the recommendation at page 219 is for full council to approve entry into a section 113 agreement with Huntingdonshire District Council for the provision of interim support to the licensing service, and to delegate to the monitoring officer to finalise and enter into the associated legal agreement in consultation with the portfolio holders. Is that agreed? Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Agenda item 16. This report can be found at pages 223 to 226 of the agenda pack. I now call upon Councillor Laws, as portfolio holder for planning, to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. I'm afraid this could be another casualty of the local reform as well, where we're going to lose very valuable officers that know a great deal about Fenland Council. This report is about bringing a resource to help implement a new local plan through section 113 arrangement with another district council. As members know from the council meeting in December, we've taken the decision to step back and reset our local plan, so it truly reflects the challenges and opportunities facing our district today. Our planning policy manager left the council in February, and we unfortunately did not receive any applications for her replacement. Therefore, discussions with Uttlesford District Council have taken place with regard to council being able to utilise their planning policy team, which includes our former planning policy manager who has just left. This will enable the council to maintain focus and drive on developing of our new plan. This would be subject, obviously, to relevant governance processes at Uttlesworth. The cost would be written within the budget and thresholds set in the new council budget considered at this time of the meeting. Therefore, the recommendation is as set out, section 3 of the report. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bowden, thank you. Do you want to speak now or reserve your right? Thank you. The item is now open for debate. No, it's not. Councillor Booth, thank you.
Chair, I've got deep reservations regarding this. We took us 7 years to try and do a local plan before and started off using Peterborough services. That didn't work. We're trying to deliver services or a local plan within 2 years, and again we're having to go to another local authority because that's where the resources are. My concern is that we're not going to have the commitment and the time needed from officers to be able to deliver the local plan we need. But we don't really have any other option by the looks of it because no one wants to come work here at Fenland to do the local plan. So,
thank you. Any other members? Councillor Laws. Oh, Councillor Bowden, sorry. Would you like to reserve your right to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Booth is right that we, and for that matter all other councils facing abolition, are increasingly going to find it difficult to recruit new individuals to organisations which are doomed to extinction. And this is the best option that we've got available to us. But I can give an assurance that Councillor Laws and I have monthly meetings to monitor the progress that we're making on local plan with the staff that we have available and the way in which we're moving stuff around. And Councillor Laws herself is actually on top of it on almost a daily basis. So we are very much monitoring this. We're very keen with a timetable to make sure that we complete the whole process in time so that this council makes the final decision about what the new local plan will be for Fenland, the Fenland area, over the course of the next 6-8 years. And we will continue to watch that extremely carefully. Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Laws, would you like to sum up?
You can't hear me for once. I completely understand where Councillor Booth is coming from, but as Councillor Bowden has just intimated, we have looked at other options. Do you actually go out to an agency? And then this is going to come at a huge cost, and possibly they will demand the hours they wish to work. At this way, we know exactly what manpower we do have. Also, the other option, by going to an agency, you're going to introduce someone that probably doesn't even know where Fenland is. And at least with this officer, she has been completely involved. She knows the policies. We're not having to reinvent the wheel. We're going to have to adapt some of the work we've done. So in my mind, this is a good option, not just the only option available to us, but it's a person that knows the work, knows Fenland, and will deliver for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, the recommendation at page 223 is for full council to approve entry into a section 116 agreement with Uttlesford District Council for the provision of support in the production of a new local plan, and to delegate to the monitoring officer to finalise and enter into the associated legal agreement in consultation with the portfolio holders. Is that agreed? Thank you. Agenda item 17. This report can be found at pages 227 to 236 of the agenda pack. I now call upon Councillor Bowden as leader and portfolio holder for finance to present the report.
Thank you, Chairman. This, Chairman, is the annual joke agenda item. And it's a joke because by law we are obliged every year to pass a resolution on the senior manager pay policy, but the senior manager pay policy is defined by their contracts, so we can't influence it at all. So we're obliged to pass a resolution which we can't amend and which is really a pointless exercise, but if we don't do it, we're breaking the law. So I would encourage you to vote in favour, because we would then be in compliance with the law for what it is worth. Thank you very much indeed, Chairman.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Mrs. French. Do I exercise your right to speak now or later? Later, thank you. The item is open for debate.
Councillor Lewis.
Councillor Lewis.
I hear what Councillor Bowden says, and it may be irrelevant, like a lot of bureaucratic muddles of the government are quite irrelevant. And to be honest with you, I think we as a society, as a community, will probably get on much better and more efficiently if we didn't have this perpetual interference from the central government. I know they pretend, they like to pretend that they know best for all of us, but believe me, they don't. But this is just an opportunity, I guess, to express our confidence in our officer cadre. I think they do an excellent job, a sterling job. We have a team, and I know a few of other neighbouring authorities, one or two in particular, and I am very happy that we have a team that is second to none. And I think they fully deserve what they have been awarded, and possibly more. But I would suggest that we all support this resolution. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Anyway, Councillor Booth, thank you.
Just following from what Councillor Noel said, let's not forget who introduced this. It was that Tory grandee, Eric Pickles, who thought it was a great idea. Maybe as part of local government reorganisation, we ought to tell the government, as part of the consultation, that they should get rid of this piece of legislation. Just an idea.
Thank you. Any further speakers?
It's already spoken.
It's already spoken. No, you already spoken. Councillor Mrs. French, nothing to say. Thank you. Councillor Bowden, would you like to sum up?
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman. Believe it or not, not every party gets everything right all of the time. And this is a prime example of something which is utter nonsense and was from the very first time it was passed. The sooner it is abolished, the better. But the trouble is, when with a bureaucracy, once something gets in, it's awfully difficult to get rid of it. We do have an opportunity coming to us, not necessarily for this legislation, but when the new unitary authorities are created, we will have significant opportunities both to affect the new constitution of the unitary authority and to affect the way in which it is set up. And whilst we won't be able to avoid this annual nonsense, there may be quite a number of other Spanish practices which have built up over the many years, which we could manage to challenge. It certainly is an opportunity for us. Please do vote in favour of this. We don't have much choice. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Members, the recommendation at page 227 is for full council to adopt the senior manager's pay policy statement for 2025-26. Is that agreed? Yes. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this afternoon's meeting. I would like to thank you for your attendance and to confirm that our next meeting will be an extraordinary meeting scheduled to take place on the 13th of March 2026 at 4 p.m. and will provide a further opportunity for members to discuss the proposals for local government reform. We're finished.